Have you ever looked at your currant bush and wondered why it produces an ocean of green leaves but only a pathetic handful of tiny, sour berries? Today, we are talking about currants, and I promise you that by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to turn that lazy bush into an absolute berry-producing machine. The truth is, most people are entirely wrong about how to treat these plants. You might think you need expensive chemical fertilizers or complex watering schedules, but that is simply not true. We are going to reveal a highly effective, incredibly simple trick that will force your currant bushes to fruit to their absolute maximum potential. I am talking about branches literally bending under the weight of massive, sweet berries. But before we get to the core secret, I have to ask you a question. Do you currently throw away your potato peels? Let me know in the comments right now, because your answer might be the exact reason your garden is underperforming. To truly understand why this trick works so perfectly, we need to look at how currant bushes actually function in nature. Currants, whether black, red, or white, have been a staple in gardens for centuries. Historically, they grew in cooler forest edge environments where they received a specific balance of nutrients from decaying organic matter and dappled sunlight. Over decades of domestic breeding, we have created varieties that are capable of producing massive yields. However, these modern plants are highly demanding when it comes to how their energy is distributed. When left to their own devices in a backyard, a currant bush will naturally revert to survival mode. It will focus on expanding its root system and growing protective foliage rather than reproducing through heavy fruiting. We have to artificially hack the plant's natural cycle to shift its focus entirely onto berry production. Let us start by addressing the biggest mistake almost every gardener makes. People honestly believe that a giant wild bush means a giant harvest. They let their currant bushes grow freely year after year, thinking more branches will automatically equal more berries. But this is a massive myth. The reality is that the bush becomes a dense, tangled jungle. Sunlight cannot penetrate the thick canopy. The plant ends up wasting all of its precious energy on growing leaves and extending useless stems instead of producing fruit. Imagine a crowded subway train during rush hour where nobody can move or breathe. That is exactly what is happening inside an overgrown currant bush. The lack of airflow also creates the perfect damp environment for fungal diseases to thrive. I want to completely debunk the idea that you should never cut a healthy-looking branch. If you just leave the bush alone, you are practically guaranteeing a miserable, tiny harvest. You have to take control and tell the plant exactly where to send its energy. Now, let us talk about the energy highway system of your currant plant. You need to understand how the bush transports its food. The roots pull up water and minerals from the soil, sending them up through the branches. But if there are too many old, thick branches, the energy literally gets stuck in traffic. Think of it like a plumbing system in an old abandoned house. The pipes are clogged with rust, and the water pressure is terrible. Because of this, the fresh, new buds that are trying to form berries do not get the food they desperately need. The result is that the berries stay small, hard, and sour. We need to completely redirect the traffic of nutrients. By understanding that the plant prioritizes older wood out of habit, you realize that you must intervene. You have to shut down those old highways so the energy is forced into the new, fruit-bearing sections of the plant. This is the foundation of our entire strategy. This brings us to the first part of our massive yield trick. It involves a very specific type of nutrition. Currant bushes are absolute starch and potassium addicts. They require immense amounts of these elements to form large, sweet berries with thick skins. Most people rush to the store and buy generic, expensive chemical fertilizers. But the real secret is actually sitting in your kitchen trash right now. I am talking about plain, ordinary potato peels. This is an absolute game changer for berry bushes. It sounds crazy, but the science fully supports it. Potato peels are packed with readily available starch, potassium, and trace minerals that currants crave. When introduced to the soil correctly, this kitchen waste acts like an energy drink for the bush. It signals the roots to pump maximum nutrients upward, resulting in a dramatic increase in both the size and the sugar content of the fruit. But you cannot just throw raw potato peels directly onto the dirt and walk away. That is a terrible idea. If you do that, you will just attract mice, rats, and other unwanted pests to your garden. You need to properly prepare this magic elixir. You can dry the peels over the winter on a radiator, or you can boil fresh ones into a thick, nutrient-dense broth. Imagine brewing a rich, dark herbal tea, but specifically for your garden soil. When you take this cooled, starchy liquid and pour it directly around the root zone of the bush, something amazing happens. The helpful microorganisms in the soil explode with sudden activity. They rapidly break down the starch and deliver the pure potassium straight to the feeder roots of the plant. It is a highly targeted, fast-acting organic feeding method that costs you absolutely zero money. Timing is absolutely everything when it comes to this trick. If you apply this starchy cocktail in late summer or autumn, it is completely useless. The plant is already preparing to go to sleep for the winter. You must apply this fertilizer right when the buds first start to swell in early spring. This is the moment the plant wakes up and searches for food. Then you hit it with a second dose right when the green berries are about the size of tiny peas. I want to destroy the common myth that you should only fertilize your garden once a year and then forget about it. That simply does not work for high-yield plants. You must feed the currant bush at its exact moments of peak energy demand. By timing the potato peel broth perfectly, you ensure that the bush has the fuel it needs precisely when it is trying to inflate those berries with juice and sugar. The fertilizer is only the first half of the secret trick. Now we need to discuss the open heart technique. A highly productive currant bush requires a completely hollow center. Why is this so important? Because berries absolutely need direct sunlight hitting them to produce natural sugars and grow large. If the center of the bush is dense and crowded, you will only get tiny, sour berries hiding in the dark shadows. Let me give you a great visual. Imagine opening an umbrella upside down. That is exactly the shape your bush should have. The center should be completely clear, allowing sunlight to pour directly down into the middle of the plant and allowing the wind to blow straight through. This brilliant airflow is also your #1 defense against mildew and rotting. A well-ventilated bush is a healthy, highly productive bush. So, how do you know exactly what to cut to create this open heart shape? You must learn to hunt down what I call the vampire branches. These are the older branches that have been on the bush for more than 4 years. You can easily spot them because they are very thick, have dark gray or almost black bark, and are often covered in fuzzy green lichen or moss. These vampire branches are incredibly dangerous to your harvest. They consume massive amounts of your precious water and potato fertilizer, but they produce almost zero fruit. They are literally draining the life and energy right out of your plant. You must be ruthless. Take your sharpest pruning shears and cut these old branches completely down to the ground. Do not leave stumps. By removing the vampires, you instantly free up huge amounts of energy for the young, productive branches. There is one more crucial, almost shocking step to this trick that professionals use. It is the boiling water wake-up call. This must be done very early in the spring, often before the snow has even completely melted, while the plant is still deeply asleep. You boil a large kettle of water and literally pour it quickly over the bare branches of the bush. I know it sounds absolutely terrifying. You might think it will cook and kill the plant. but I assure you it does not. Because the branches are frozen and the water cools as it falls, it does not harm the wood. However, it completely destroys the microscopic spider mites, aphids, and fungal spores that are hiding inside the dormant buds. It is a natural, completely chemical-free reset button that ensures your plant starts the spring 100% healthy and pest-free. Now that you have properly fed the bush with starch, opened its heart to the sun, and cleared away the pests, you must lock in all of those benefits. Currant bushes have very shallow root systems. They sit right below the surface, which means they dry out incredibly fast during hot summer days. We must create the illusion of a damp forest floor. You need to apply a thick layer of organic mulch around the base of the plant. You can use clean straw, dried grass clippings, or rich, dark compost. However, you must keep the mulch a few inches away from the actual wooden stems to prevent them from rotting. This mulch layer acts just like a giant sponge. It holds the moisture in the soil, keeps the roots cool, and traps your starchy potato fertilizer right where the roots can continuously feed on it throughout the hottest months. When you put all of these simple steps together, the compounding effect on your harvest is truly explosive. You are not just adding 5 or 10% more berries to your bush. You are fundamentally changing how the plant operates on a biological level. The branches will be absolutely loaded with fruit from top to bottom. The berries will swell to the size of small cherries, and they will be incredibly sweet. In fact, the branches will likely become so heavy with fruit that they will literally bend all the way down to the dirt. You will actually need to install wooden props or ties to hold them up so they do not snap under the immense weight. This is the ultimate goal. By using kitchen scraps, smart pruning, and a little hot water, you transform a struggling, leafy bush into an unstoppable berry factory. And there you have it. That is the complete, unfiltered truth about getting the absolute maximum yield from your currant bushes. We took a deep dive into the science of starch feeding with potato peels, the critical open-heart pruning method to defeat those vampire branches, and the shocking boiling water trick to obliterate early spring pests. When you apply this simple combination, the transformation is truly breathtaking. Your bushes will no longer just take up space in your yard, they will become the crown jewels of your garden, giving you buckets of huge, sweet berries every single summer. I really hope you apply these steps this season and see the dramatic difference for yourself. Thank you so much for watching and spending your time with me today. If you found this trick helpful, please hit that like button right now and make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on our best gardening secrets. Now, I want to hear from you. What is the biggest struggle you currently face when growing berries in your own garden? Drop your answer in the comments below and let us get a great discussion going.